Well, a new call for the president and Congress to keep the money flowing. Some 300 progressive economists, along with civic and labor leaders, are warning that if we don't keep spending, we risk not being able to save our economy and create new jobs. Robert Borosage is co-director of the Campaign for America's Future and a co-author of this report, Don't Kill Growth and Jobs in the Name of Deficit Reduction. Joining him is Peter Schiff. He's president of Euro-Pacific Capital, also the author of the book, How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes. So, Robert, starting off with you in this report, you say a premature focus on deficit reduction could slow growth and increase unemployment. Why is that?
Well, if we start constriction now, we'll put more people out of work, and that will slow growth. We already have faltering growth. We're in a real trough here. We're in trouble, and we need to take steps to get the economy going. Consumers aren't going to do that. They're tightening their belts. Businesses aren't going to do it as long as there aren't consumers, and we're not going to do it with exports, and so we're going to have to do it by having government take action. Let
me just pick up on that point of consumers, because we certainly have seen the American public change some of their habits through this crisis. They've paid down some debt, they've taken less credit, they're saving more money. So why should the government act different than just a typical American family that's trying to get through this crisis?
Because as consumers constrict what they're spending, something has to replace demand to put people back to work, because businesses aren't going to do that. And what's happening is consumers lost trillions of dollars in home values and retirement savings. They're starting to save. They're starting to rebuild their accounts. And we've got 30 million people in need of full-time work in this economy. We need government to act.
Peter, I think I heard you laughing a little bit there about the government's need to step in. Why are you laughing?
Well, look, the country is in a lot of trouble, but it's because we continue to follow the misguided advice of the 300 economists who drafted that letter. And, I don't like to call them economists. Let's just call them Keynesians, because Keynesians are to economics what witch doctors are to medicine. We need more production in the economy. We need productive jobs. We don't need more government jobs. Government jobs make us poorer. Private sector jobs make us richer. We have to save more. We spent too much. We borrow too much. Americans are doing the right thing by replenishing their savings. The government is doing the wrong thing by plunging us deeper into debt. We need to produce. We have to export. There are plenty of people all around the world that can actually afford to buy things. Americans can't. Americans are broke after decades of spending beyond their means because of these foolish monetary and fiscal policies. We have to rebuild the real economy where we produce, where we save, where we invest. We can't simply have an economy with government make work financed with a printing press. That is going to lead to an inflationary depression.
Robert, go ahead.
This is just kind of rhetoric. Look at this moment. If you have any whit of business sense, we have a construction industry that is totally collapsed. We have an infrastructure that everyone agrees needs to be rebuilt with collapsing bridges and collapsing pipelines. And the government can borrow money at nearly record low levels. This is a perfect time to borrow the money and rebuild the public infrastructure we need to gain.
Let me get some clarity. Hold on. One second here, Peter. Because, Robert, let's get some more clarity on what you mean here. Are you saying that what the government needs to do right now is start, I don't know, a second stimulus plan, another $800 billion?
Absolutely. I'm not even afraid of the term. But we can make, this is an opportunity to rebuild an infrastructure that even people like Schiff would agree has to be rebuilt at a very low level of borrowing at a time when construction workers are idle across the country. We can put them to work, hire those firms that are private firms, and rebuild an infrastructure. It's silly to talk about this in different ways.
Look, I would agree that some of the infrastructure needs to be rebuilt, but the cost of rebuilding it is a burden. It's not going to help the economy. We have to divert resources from other uses to make these long-term investments. But the problem is, when the government is in charge of it, a lot of it is being wasted. I mean, here in Connecticut, we're repaving roads that didn't need to be repaved. And the question is, what didn't we do with those resources because the government diverted them to something that was unproductive?
Well, Peter,
listen,
then what do we do?
There's nothing as unproductive as what finance did with capital in the boom that we just had and the collapse we just had.
I agree.
But rebuilding infrastructure, it wasn't government that did that. It was private that did that.
No, it was
rebuilding
who lent them the money?
Is something everybody agrees how to get done.
Who subsidized it?
Peter, let me jump in here, Peter. If it's not an additional spending project, if it's not government stepping in, then how do we solve this problem?
By getting the government out of the way so that we can rebuild a viable economy, so that we can restructure the economy. Look, our economy is based on consumer spending borrowed money. That has to end. We've been building houses that people can't afford. That has to end. We need more factories. We need more production. We need to make more things. And that will happen if the government gets out of the way and allows American industry to become more competitive and more productive. You have all these people who are unemployed because the government has made them unemployable by driving up the cost of doing business. And my opponent here says that we should take advantage of low interest rates to go deeper into debt. We have to pay that money back. And these low interest rates are not going to stay here. The government is borrowing with Treasury bills.
But it's a good time to borrow now.
But what's going to happen in a few years when rates spike up?
So why wouldn't you borrow now to put people to work? I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
Robert,
we're putting them to work
if the people don't go to work, the businesses aren't going to invest.
Robert, final comment here. Hold on a second, Peter. I'm going to give Robert the final comment on this. Robert, when is the right time to stop spending? Why are you not afraid of this debt that so many are so fearful about?
Once the economy gets going and people go back to work, then it's time to start to look at how do we balance our accounts. But the reality is every project for balancing the budget assumes 2 or 3 years of growth that gets unemployment down to a normal level. You can't assume that at this point without government taking action. And it's silly, you know, after 30 years of conservative rule, after 8 years of the Bush administration and deregulation and privatization, the notion that government is in the way of this is ridiculous.
Stop rewriting history, you know, and if we keep borrowing
you forgot
and spending,
the Bush administration?
this country... No, I didn't forget about it. The Bush administration damaged the economy because it abandoned free market principles. It followed a Keynesian socialist prescription. It did exactly
George Bush was a socialist.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Well, you two are certainly spirited and good partners in crime on this, and I hope to have you both back because this is a topic.
I'm the guy that predicted this collapse. Well, you guys thought everything was great. It was the economists, like the guys that wrote this thing, that were laughing at me on Fox.
No, actually, Dean Baker was one of the leaders to talk about the housing bubble while people like you were investing in it.
No, I wasn't investing in it. I was shorting it.
Time out, gentlemen. We're going to have to leave it there. We're going to get far off the point.
We got to do a little research on